This is Village Vigilantes. Let us begin with the what. Earthworx, started by two Scindians, Abanshdeep and I. We believe that only what can be measured can be managed. For the management and development of critical infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and power lines, and on the other hand, conducting hydro and biocensus, helping create sustainable policies for forests and protected areas, using drone-mounted technologies to conduct accurate surveys and use AI-led data processing softwares, we create actionable data, thus enhancing the government's decision-making capabilities. For the development of agricultural sector, we provide end-to-end services that includes data collection and reports, allowing optimal land use. Our agricultural consultancy team then helps farmers raise incomes without having to necessarily raise their production, while eliminating the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Finally, using geographical information systems, the technology is used to accurately measure yields and crop health prior to the harvest, giving the gift of certainty to the farmer and associated industries. Next venture, at Toot. We are a strategic consultancy firm helping small and legacy businesses to scale. We also help and execute public communication geared towards community organization. We help individuals and marginalized groups to achieve goals where we galvanize communities towards change. 8 out of 10 patients in an emergency lose their life during transport. For a population of about 1.4 billion people, during the pandemic, it was a harrowing experience for all of us. Our preparedness was bared to all. For this population, we had 95,000 ICU beds only, and about 46,000 ventilators. At EMSOS Medical, we use mobile ICUs and air ambulance services to try and bridge this gap. With a host of diagnostics and telemedical services, we bring the best of medicine at your doorstep, literally. Our search and rescue team intervenes in calamities, both natural and man-made disasters, saving countless lives every year. At EMSOS Aviation, we empower individuals and entities with greater control over their time, thus increasing the efficacy of businesses and boosting productivity of people. At Village Vigilantes, our idea is to question accepted wisdom and injustice by throwing light on the issues we push under the rug. This is done by the creation of conscious art, using multimedia by combining elements of conscious rap, photojournalism, and video production. Under the Punarjagriti initiative, we work with at-risk urban youth, providing them with the means to foster their talent and ditch bad habits. Now that we are done with the what, let us get to the actual talk, which is the why. Punarjagriti. नजरों में उभरे नक्शों का जंतर है ये, जागे और जागृत के बीच का जो अंतर है ये, तमस और पाप से थे सींचे कुछ फूल, रख के ईश्वर में पढ़कर जो मंत्र वो मंत्र है ये. पुनर्जागृति, पीछा करके हर उस आत्मा का यातना को लांग कर जो भाग रही थी, डालकर पानी उस अग्नि पर पितृसत्ता बैठी अपने हाथ जिस पर ताप रही थी. अयोध्या में एक माँ को था देखा मैंने, बीती दिवाली की दियालियों से बटोरते तेल, चिरी धोती में सर्दी को झेल, वो बाकी भक्ष्यों से पहले जाग रही थी, वो बुझे दियों की ओर भाग रही थी. पुनर्जागृति. ये बात है संस्कृति की. The city was Kanpur, and the area was Vijayanagar, nearest landmark Kanpur Ordnance Factory. Crime ran amok, violence was commonplace, and guns were a way of life. I spent most of my time supervised and within the safe confines of my home. My mother, due to her liberal education in Bombay, found herself in a similar predicament. Her outlet was reading, and she figured that unabridged works of Emily Bronte and Jane Austen would make great bedtime stories. As her collection wore out, comics and TV became my friends, and thanks to the entrepreneurial spirit of Kanpurias, my local operator supplied me bootleg cable that caught all the US listings. There was everything there, but 3 things caught my eye: Batman, rap, and blaxploitation cinema. See, when you're a child, your empathy is very high. Somehow I could relate to the African American struggle. Our realities matched, and so did our aspirations. We were all trying to make it out of the hood. They were, and as were we. They internalized pain and trauma as normal. We did too. The concept of hustle and making it at all costs was the code people around me were living and dying by. They still do. Their environment was as unstable as mine, but despair was not an option. We refused to be victims. We had to make it. Conscious rap made more sense to me than all the content on TV was for offer and for the power that it made me feel. Tupac Shakur had thug life tattooed on his belly. Thug is a Hindi word. There came my first realization. We are connected by more than our identity. Cut to class 8th. My father's hard work gave me the opportunity to study at the Scindia school, Gwalior. It was a new life. Blasting 50 Cent in my MP3 player, I made it here. Wanting to make the best of the opportunity, I did everything I possibly could do. The library became my sanctuary. And there I met the four horsemen who introduced me to political satire and mystical romanticism known as Chayavad. By class 9th, I found the courage to submit my first essay for the Hindi magazine. In Shuddh Hindi, I decided to address the stigma around sex education. The article was rejected, obviously, as I was told that it was too advanced for school level. There came my second realization. Transmission of knowledge is governed by power structures. As I was understanding this, the very next year we had the Arab Spring. With it came my third realization. Power structures can be bent by collective action. 12th class, I was sitting right there. Dukes, Gold, secretary debating, chairman Round Square, founder of Simon, got 4 out of 5 choices on my UCAS form. So sure of a career in law. It was the right decision, obviously. The 9th class career evaluation test told me that it was. I took admission at a top law college in Delhi and left for a trip to Leh. It was beautiful, but my return journey changed my life forever. On our way back, right before Srinagar, our car was stopped. There was a jam. We were told that there is an operation going on. 20 minutes and few gunshots later, the traffic was back to normal. Just as I was understanding what went on, crossing Lal Chowk, I saw graffiti on the wall that read, "Indian dogs go back." And I thought to myself, go back where? I went back to Delhi, withdrew my admission that very morning, and as I sat contemplating life at 11 a.m., Delhi University released its cutoffs. By 3 p.m., I admitted myself to the history honors program. Post that, I went on to pursue my master's in history as well, and was awarded a thesis on the topic of Dalit movement in Uttar Pradesh. When we talk about colonial legacy, we usually speak of economic exploitation and unthinkable atrocities upon our people. Selective systemic attacks tore open the fabric of our society, as the Eurocentric worldview officially divided us into religions, castes, tribes, criminal tribes, thuggies, and habitual offenders. Labels, labels, labels. In a nation as vast as diverse as us, it used to be near impossible to govern the private sphere. The society was a living, breathing being. Customs took primacy over politics, and the ruling class had their limits, lest they invite the ire of the public. The kings taxed as they must and intervened when they should. Thrones switch occupiers, invasions turned destinies, historically business as usual. Cultural politics was the domain of the aristocracy, while cultural development was with the people, and how it thrived towards a progressive direction. On the eve of their arrival, we were being led by bhakti saints who had blurred the line between religions as they preached the love towards one God. A God as consistent with the Vedic Nirakar Ishwar as it was with the faceless Allah, the formless Vaheguru, and rooted in the love for humanity and good deeds consistent with Buddhist moksha. Man was tied to the land and learned to worship the elements as the tribals did. Dharti was our living mother, no middlemen. If we are to go back to where we left, that is where. Upon their arrival, they called us pagans, subverted our philosophies as utilitarianism turned from an economic school of thought to a system of morals. Market ethics became social ethics. Hum munafik ban gaye. By the time they left, the nation was divided. Land was a commercial commodity. God needed secretaries, as did your local public representative. The middlemen returned. Of the 4 purusharths of Indian philosophy, dharma, arth, kam, and moksha, only arth and kam survived. Our spirituality and culture were debased. This stripped us of our confidence. From seekers, we became followers. Competition for resources in a fractured economy was the final piece of the puzzle. Post-91, this was solidified as free markets became institutionalized in our country. We were divided into 2 categories now, consumers and suppliers, not realizing that the affluence that we are proud of stands on the backs of the marginalized. Today, as we are busy fighting over identities and subjective histories, the collective history of this country is lost. The reckless stream of capital continues to erode the very edifice of our civilization till date. Polarization is the prime character of public discourse. It is either this or that. You are either a businessman or a sannyasi, an atheist or a fanatic, capitalist or communist, material path or spiritual path. We forget that both the sides are operating via two things only. It is either fear or it is greed. Bhay ya pralobhan. The madhya marg is lost. गांव वाला चाहता है तहसील पहुंच जाए, तहसील वाले को शहर जाना है, शहर वाले चाहते हैं कि बस रिटायर हो जाए तो वापस गांव चले जाएंगे, उनके लड़के चाहते हैं कि बस नौकरी लग जाए तो बाहर चले जाएंगे। इतने लड़के इतने बड़े देश में 8-9 शहर तब थे, वही आज हैं। रुपया कमा भी लिया तो बच्चे नशे में बर्बाद हैं, फिर भी सब शहर की ओर भाग रहे। Only 31% of our population resides in cities. Approximately 60% of land is officially under agricultural use. The entire rural landscape is a sea of possibilities. Yet in our imagination of progress, a wage worker is glorified far more than a farmer who owns his subsistence and feeds the country. We want to bring back the respect they deserve. Isn't removing inefficiency easier than a complete shift in the economy in the name of industrialization? Here came my core realization, ladies and gentlemen. Either they are crazy or I am. And there is no shame in being mad in a crazy world. The cause revealed itself. We have to build a just world that fosters peaceful coexistence amongst all elements of Earth, not just people. As the vision became large, the enemy became larger. It is fear, greed, and insecurity. It is not a person or a political party. They are the drivers of mindless consumption and conflict. The enemy isn't a person, it is a system of thought. The project to devise a new philosophy of existence can only happen when we restore the confidence that we once had as children, to ask questions with impunity, with no shame. But kids show shame and guilt too. We had an idea. Go faceless. Drop the baggage of identity. A political revolution is always preceded by a spiritual revolution. Because an inorganic change will always come with an expiry date. Taking cue from Sir's talk, Gandhiji had also said, to believe that just because something has not happened before will not happen again is to express distrust in the indomitable will of man. With this, I share with you the Vigilante plan. First change is how we conduct business. When shareholder maximization of wealth is the core ideology of a business, ethics will never be a concern. Corporate hospitals today in their appraisal meetings speak of metrics such as emergency unit to ward conversion ratio. Meaning, if I visit the emergency and if I'm treated there and sent back, that is not a good thing for business. You're constantly chasing the top line, trying to tame the Frankenstein you brought to life. Pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, pivot, marketing, undercut, overheads, aggregate, equity, mergers, acquisitions. Our business will be built around value creation. Business ventures should not be ends within themselves, rather should be tools for change. And that does not mean you go broke. All successful businesses solve problems. That is the first prong of the Vigilante way. The second needs to come from the people sitting at the back here, the youth. Let me drop some game. In order to fight the good fight, you will need resources. Let me explain it via what I call the Batman paradox. Batman is able to do whatever he does only because of the fact that Bruce Wayne is a thriving billionaire. Dependence will ultimately jack your ability to make independent choices. So make sure that before everything else, you go independent. Game the very system that has perpetuated these problems. It does not take much to start a venture of your own today. Solve a problem and scale it. Can't solve a problem? Find one. Gone are the days when supply chased demand. When you live in a world where plain white tees are labeled as streetwear and sold for 15K, that means demand can be gamed. Second, time is a construct. You can move very fast if you learn to collaborate. Understand that owning 50% of something is way better than owning 100% of nothing. The condition is that they must match your moral compass. Find like-minded people, create an organization, and always put it ahead of your own identity. Ego will take a back seat, and the organization will become formidable. Best way to learn collaboration is by analyzing nature. Notice how every part of from the microbial system to the winds come together to create the perfect system in which a plant grows and prospers. If you learn to farm, great. If you cannot, try taking care of a plant for a year. You will learn that as a human, you are not meant to dominate nature, but shape it. That is our job: shape and consolidate. Do it to land, do it to business, do it to life. You will never lose your way. Have faith. Submit your existence to an abstract. It can be God or it can be an idea. You choose. I tell you this because the path that I'm suggesting you to take will get lonely. But if you have faith in you, you will always have hope. If we are to arrest our devolution into an increasingly hyper-individualistic, yet anxious, pleasure-seeking, yet empty, and overloaded with information, yet short-sighted world, this is the way for a positive future. This is Punarjagriti. We are Village Vigilantes, ladies and gentlemen, and we are in the business of outcomes. I end with a few lines by Dushyant Kumar. सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, मेरी कोशिश है कि ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए. मेरे सीने में नहीं तो तेरे सीने में सही, हो कहीं भी आग, लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए. थैंक यू.